Welcome back to Dirty Pretty, the space where we own our feelings, honor our experience, share unfiltered truths, and talk shit, all through a lens of love. Happy 2025, and welcome back to Dirty Pretty Season 2. I'm so excited to be back here with you. And today I want to slide on into the new year, first and foremost, as I said, saying Happy New Year. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season, and I'm excited to take Dirty Pretty to the next level this year. We had such a wonderful list of appearances last year, and I'm so grateful to everybody that showed up and shared so honestly and transparently their hearts. And that brings me to the next wave of where I'm going, and Dirty Pretty is obviously coming with me because she is mine and she is ours, and I want to create this narrative together around being a lover, allowing ourselves to romance life, allowing ourselves to realize what that means. And all of my life, I've heard that being a romantic or romanticizing life is, equivalent to having our heads in the clouds and not paying attention and living in a fantasy world, living in a dream world. You're living in a dream world, little girl. I don't know how many times I heard that in my life. And it took 41 years to get to a place of realizing they were right. They were always right. I was always living in a dream reality because I am rooted from love. However, growing up in a space of feeling invalidated and feeling ostracized because I wasn't atypical or, normal to societal standards, and an undiagnosed neurodivergent autistic ADHD individual was really complicated and really complex. And to the fairness of culture and society and our parents and the people that didn't notice, we can't know what we don't know. And while it would have probably been better for me had I been diagnosed early on, and we have more conversations about spectrum of reality and spectrum of experiences and spectrum of individuals, I think more and more, at least I hope so, our universe and our culture will open itself up to realizing that ideology, that freedom that comes from, releasing ourselves from the rigidity of our social graces is actually quite liberating. And it lends itself to the idea of recognizing that we're all creative. If you are a living, breathing human being, I believe that you are creative even beyond your wildest comprehension. And I know that oftentimes while I'm researching or learning or expanding myself or going through my own healing, working with healers, whatever it is, I often come upon things that illuminate for me just how creative I am, just how nuanced I am. And that is creativity. Your diversity and my diversity makes us each an artist. And I think that sometimes we get afraid to be as nuanced as we are, as different as we are in our diversity and in our creativity, because we're not sure about how it's going to be received. We don't feel like we're artists. And it brings me to the ideology or the quote of art for art's sake, right? People make art just for the sake of making art, often, right? Because they're so in love with that endeavor. They're so in love with what that expression gives to them that they indulge in it simply for the kickback, what they get back from doing it. And sometimes we also create art for a purpose. We're trying to convey a larger message. And I believe all art does that anyways, but whether or not it's conscious to the creator or not, everything that we create has the opportunity to be art. And because we are each creative, and because I see life as an artistic endeavor, I think that within that, there is freedom and liberation, not only from releasing ourselves from rigidity or from social norms, but from the idea of thinking of ourselves as artists, each of us as artists, realizing again, art for art's sake, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So if you find something valuable and you find something pertinent and you find something that is expressive and meaningful to you, if you validate it and you value it, you don't need anybody else to do that. You have the right to say, wow, I think that is so beautiful. And then you get the opportunity to take it then to the next step. You get the opportunity to romance it. You get the opportunity to look in and think, why does Shannon love that? Why does Sally love that? Why does Frederick love that? You get the opportunity to dig deeper, know yourself deeper, and figure out or discover new creativities about yourself. And that can be different ways of thinking, deeper understanding about what your values are, and also comfort in how you perform your presence. And I'm not talking about performance as if a pretense and you're acting. I'm talking about how you actually convey who you are to the world. And that brings me to my theory of love and being a lover and romancing our reality. I think that if we allow ourselves to understand each of us as a creative, and allow ourselves to look at our lives as a creative art project, we get to become the artist. And when we get to become the artist, then we get to find value in the things that we value. And when we learn to identify what gives us meaning and what gives us purpose and what stabilizes us, what destabilizes us, what we find respectful and not. We allow ourselves to also adopt an ideology that, perhaps what somebody else thinks and what somebody else likes is not an attack on me. It's just their artistic, creative perspective. And in that, we get to look at their life and the way that they're living as living their style, and we're living our style. And we get to respect that. We get to look at it and say, I may not really understand that artistic perspective, but I can understand that they value it. I have resonance with the ability to value what I value. And I have resonance with the ability to respect that what they value, even if it comes with conflict. It doesn't have to come with an attack. It doesn't have to be a situation where we tear someone else down in order to build ourselves up. And I think that that's where romancing our reality comes into play, realizing that each one of us is living the reality that we're creating. And that we're saying to the world, this is my story, this is my style, this is what I love, and this is how I love. And from that perspective, I think it allows us to like tone down the intensity of it, right? Not tone down the intensity with which you experience life, but tone down the intensity behind what makes us feel afraid to be authentic. So I wanted to come here today and kind of introduce to you where I'm really rooting myself these days. And also just really name and be fully honest with you that I didn't always feel like I had the right to be a lover. And even though I've been a thespian my entire life, since I'm 5 years old, I've been taking voice, I've been acting, I've been a steel drum major, I have played volleyball, I've ran track, I've been an artist, I've been in art shows. I've been a very creative individual, and yet, lo and behold, I never identified myself as a creative being. I knew what I loved was creative, but I didn't think of Shannon as creative. And the more I got into my own introspection, the more I allowed myself to believe that I can face what feels fearful for me, the more I allowed myself to see just how resilient and how bold and how brave I am. And with love, what we romanticize in our life, love gives us the ability to have hope. And when we don't have hope, we lose our creativity. We lose our edge. We lose that zhuzh in the validation that we give it to say, like, that's just the charm of me. And they don't have to like that, but that doesn't mean I have to hate them because they don't. Or vice versa. That's just the charm of them. And I don't really like that. I don't understand that, but I don't have to hate them for it. I can respect them for what they believe in and also acknowledge that I don't believe in it. And we can come together in that romantic place of saying, okay, when I have love and when I'm rooted in love, love gives me the opportunity to have hope. And hope gives me the opportunity to be bold. And when I am bold in my endeavors, then I have the opportunity to be brave, the opportunity to be audacious in my authentic expression, and audaciously hold respect for other people's expression of their own, and giving us each the opportunity to come to a place of recognizing that we all have the opportunity to romanticize our lives. And we all have the opportunity to recognize what that means, making it no bigger than it needs to be, allowing it to be drilled down to the ideology of this is an artistic creative expression that I may or may not agree with. And therefore, inside of that, I can acknowledge that with my respect for art and my respect for love and my respect for how people romanticize and respect the reality as a representation of what they value and how they perform their presence, we can also have disagreement and still really respect each other. We can have conflict and still really honor what that creative endeavor or that creative perspective is trying to convey. And in that, it allows us to just calm down. And as I said, come from a place that really just softens that intensity to say, we're all trying to be fully expressed. And we're all trying to come from a place of authenticity. And sometimes the modality or the means for which we go about trying to achieve that can be challenging. It can be difficult. We can get stuck in our shit unconsciously and project shit onto each other. And we can be judging someone in their audacious expression unconsciously because we wish that we could be that bold too. And this is where romanticizing our reality comes in. And for me, I look at BOLD as an acronym: bravely, openly living our desires. And that's what I want to introduce to you, not only with Dirty Pretty, that's what I want to introduce to you with my level of coaching. I invite people to come into their presence, to acknowledge where they have a waning presence, meaning they're not conscious of how they're not present in their own reality. And from there, walk them into the recognition that, oh, if I'm not conscious to my reality, if I don't even know what makes me feel alive and brings me joy and what love even is to me and what my creative expression is, then how can I know what I value? And if I don't know what I value, then how can I lead myself with integrity forward, knowing what stabilizes me and doesn't stabilize me? And so romanticizing comes into play, where we allow ourselves to see that even in the tension, there is opportunity. Even in the tension and the contention, I want to say, let me backtrack on that. There is an opportunity for us to come to a place of respect. Respect for the things that we don't understand, respect for the things that we can't even fathom, and respect for the things that we do, and the things that we do like, and the things that we do know, and the things that bring us joy and peace and stability, to say that that is different for everyone. And how beautiful is that? We get to learn from each other. We get to learn what we like and we don't like from each other. And we get to learn how to carry those things with reciprocity. And we get to also learn that we don't have to hold ourselves in spaces or places where our own individuality is not respected. And we don't have to cast shame upon people that make us feel bad about ourselves or manipulate us or put us in circumstances that are undesirable. We can simply allow ourselves to acknowledge that's not what we would choose. That's not what we subscribe to. That's not what motivates us, and allow ourselves to get ourselves into a position or a place or in a community that does support us, does bolster us, and allow ourselves to acknowledge that that person, that place or thing that doesn't align with us, it's not our right to demonize that or dehumanize that or demoralize that, because that's what got us here. That's what got us to the point of not being conscious of who we are, not noticing what our presence is performing like, not knowing what our values are, not knowing how to lead ourselves with integrity so that we can learn how to find our stability in the instability, learn how to breathe into the tension to say, where can I find the point where peace and pain meet each other and create a balance in between those two juxtaposition or competing forces to find my through line, understanding that people are finding their through line the same. So I'm so excited to continue to have this dirty, pretty conversation with you this year, rooting into the idea of romanticizing our reality, understanding that that does not mean we get to escape from the hardship or the dirty of life, and allowing ourselves to see that the pretty in that, the romantic opportunity in that, is learning how to find our stability in it, understanding that there will be things that give us a wobble, but the really true creative artistic endeavor in that in adventure is allowing ourselves to find the stability in the wobble, finding that there's a lesson in it, that there is a purpose to our pain, and that when we find the willingness to love ourselves in what truly destabilizes us, to trust ourselves in our instincts and what is creatively authentic for us, is when we learn how to realize that our pain and our pressure and all the things that invalidate us, they become manageable, they become survivable when we allow ourselves to admit what's real and honest and what artistic creative endeavor we are looking to romanticize in this life. And from that reality, we get to understand what is our ethos, what is the moral of our story, what are we trying to live into, and what do we want our life to represent? What romantic love letter do we want our life to leave far after we're gone? So thanks for showing up again. Thanks for coming back around for season 2 of Dirty Pretty. If you know anybody that may like or benefit from these Dirty Pretty conversations, please share that with them. Please go to Spotify or Apple and leave a review. I would really appreciate that. That gets more exposure for these sorts of conversations between you and I. And also, if you're the type of person that's listening to this and thinking, I don't even know what my conscious presence is. I don't really know what values lead me in my life. And I don't feel confident to allow myself to be the creative artist and leader of the romanticism in my life that I would like to be. I don't know what my romantic message is, and I don't know what I want my life to represent far after I'm gone. Message me, contact me. I would love to work with you. And we can have a discussion about what that looks like for you, where you're at, and where you're trying to move forward. Otherwise, as always, be good to yourself for fuck's sake. Live honestly in the dirty pretty of your life and choose to do the next right thing for you. Until next time.